All right. Let's just go to the step where we have stopped our derivations. We have covered in the last class this derivation. If you can recall, we have shown that the input impedance for voltage series or series shunt feedback amplifier. Okay, you can see here this is RIF is equal to Ri into 1 plus beta A or A beta. This equation shows that input impedance with feedback. Okay, R stands for, even though resistance is there, we can call this as input resistance or input impedance with feedback. Depends on input impedance without feedback, that is Ri, and that's multiplied with 1 plus beta A. This shows that with feedback, that is RIF, input impedance with feedback, is large, increases with the input impedance without feedback. When you compare these two factors, RIF versus RI, okay, if you compare these two things, you can see here RI is increased by the amount of 1 plus beta A. 1 plus beta A, you can treat this as a number, some number. Obviously, A is gain, which is a number. Beta is also a gain of feedback network, which is also some number, and that's added with 1. So total value results in some number, and that get multiplied with input resistance without feedback, and therefore overall input resistance without with feedback is very high compared to the input resistance without feedback. Okay, so this is RIF is very large compared to this factor RI. That means in a feedback amplifier, the input impedance, especially for voltage series feedback amplifier, we are discussing the voltage series feedback amplifier. Remember the type of amplifier. For all amplifier, this is not the case. Only for voltage series amplifier. What is the alternative name for voltage series amplifier? What is the feedback topology that is suitable for voltage series feedback amplifier? It is nothing but series shunt feedback topology. So this is the feedback topology that is suitable for voltage series, okay, feedback amplifier. For this type of amplifier, the input impedance with feedback increases to that of input impedance without feedback. That is what the overall okay, the equation shows that. Okay, let us call this as equation 4. Okay, and this is what explanation I have given here. The negative feedback increases the input resistance by a factor of 1 plus A beta. This is the amount of feedback increased with feedback, amount of input resistance increased by without feedback, which is equal to the amount of feedback also. 1 plus A beta is also called as amount of feedback. And another thing, the this equation also shows that the input resistance, it doesn't have relationship with the sampling or mixing. This is what this point clarifies to you. Okay, the equation 4 reveals that the input impedance with feedback, it doesn't depend on the sampling, and even it is not at all a function of mixing also. That means even the way you sample, either you can sample, in our case, since it is a voltage amplifier, we are sampling the output voltage and we are mixing that with the input signal here. So the sampling output voltage doesn't affect this input impedance with feedback, and also while mixing, we are mixing the feedback voltage with inputs voltage. So this mixing doesn't even affect this input impedance with feedback. That's what we are trying to say in this point here. Okay. All these points are taken from the Cedra-Smith textbook. Students, I advise you to go through the Cedra-Smith textbook. That is very good textbook, and all these details are you can find in the textbook. So refer to 6th edition of Cedra-Smith textbook. That is going to be very useful book, and every student of electronics has to go through that book. It is a very fundamental book that teaches you analog circuit, foundations of analog circuit, especially. And especially we are teaching here only the few chapters in that from the textbook, and all are the All modules will teach you only the fundamentals. It's not an advanced textbook. Okay, the result of equation 4 is not surprising, but it is intuitive. That's what we are trying to say. We will show here few with few mathematical rearrangement. Okay, how exactly the input resistance. Okay, so it affects other parameters. We'll just see that here. So we can write here Vs is equal to Vi plus Vf. How do we get to know this? This equation we already derived, right, by using KVL. Just go back and see that we have shown that. See here, by applying KVL to the ideal structure, we have shown that Vs is equal to Vi plus Vf. Same equation I have written here. Vs is equal to Vi plus Vf. Okay, or this equation can be written in terms of Vf also. Vf can be written as Vs minus Vi. Okay, so this equation shows that the feedback voltage Vf subtracts, okay, the input voltage from the source voltage. Okay, so therefore, input voltage will obviously it will be higher than the, I mean, input voltage in the sense source voltage I am talking here. This parameter will be obviously higher than this. By the time the signal propagates from Vs to Vi, we should know what is Vs and what is Vi. So Vs is nothing but which is an amplifier source signal, and Vi is nothing but the input signal at the amplifier. Suppose if I call this a block diagram as an amplifier. Okay, at here exactly here this is Vi. Okay, and if you connect here equivalent circuit here, like Thevenin's equivalent what we have said, so here we have a Vs. So there is a relationship between Vi and Vs here. They are related with voltage division rule. Okay, so this Vi and especially the Vs here. So this here what we are trying to say is the feedback voltage subtracts the input voltage from the source voltage. That's what we are trying to say in this point here. And also look at that the voltage that appears across Ri. What is the voltage that is appearing across Ri? We know that what is Ri, and also do not get confused with Ri and Rif. Like here we said Vs and Vi, right? Similarly, for a feedback amplifier we have Ri and Rif. Ri is nothing but input resistance without feedback. Rif is input resistance with feedback. Now we are saying here, since feedback voltage subtracts, okay, input voltage from the source voltage, the voltage that appears across Ri, which is nothing but Vi, and look at Vi, Vi is nothing but it's Vs minus Vf, and look at this Vi, Vi is going to be quite small compared to Vs. I told you that Vs and Vi are related by the voltage division rule. Okay, so obviously this Vi will be less compared to the Vs. So we can write this equation Vi is equal to Vs divided by 1 plus A beta. This equation shows that, this is again by voltage division rule, this equation shows that the input voltage is less, Vi is less compared to Vs by the amount of 1 plus A beta. Okay, in other way I should say that when we compare Vi and Vs, Vi is lesser compared to Vs. That's what we want to say from this equation here. Look at here from where we have connected here. We have taken this KVL equation and we have shown that Vf, how it is dependent on Vs and Vi, and among these two parameters we are comparing, and we are saying here Vs is larger, Vi is lesser. On other side you can also say Vi is less, Vs is larger. How much it is less? Vi is less compared to Vs. It is by the factor of 1 plus A beta. Okay, this is what we are going to say from this equation here. Okay, now see, once Vi is small, obviously Ri also will be very small, right? And also look at here, the input current Ii becomes correspondingly small, because the once the input signal going to the amplifier is small, the corresponding input current Ii also becomes small. Okay, so we have shown that in the block diagram, right? So Vi is nothing but that is the input to the amplifier, and Ii is nothing but current going to the amplifier, Ii. This is where you see Ii. Across this we measure Vi. Okay, so when we are comparing Vs and Vi, we said that Vi is less. If Vi is less, obviously Ii also must be less. This is what Vi is less by the factor of 1 plus A beta, and Ii is also less, corresponding small, and the resistance seen by Vs, whatever the resistance seen by Vs, that becomes large. I hope you understand this fact here. Okay. The resistance seen by, since the current is decreasing, VI is also decreasing. The resistance that is seen by the VS, that's going to become large. That's what we've shown so far. The resistance seen by VS is nothing but the RIF. It's not RI. Okay. Okay. Next, we'll move on to the next point to be clarified here. So next point here, what we are trying to say, we are representing uh, input resistance in terms of impedance. So though we have proved here input resistance equation, how it depends on input resistance without feedback, and here now we are expressing this equation in general form in the S domain. We already talked about domains. There are different domains are there to analyze signals. What are the various domains which are very popular to analyze signal? There is S domain, frequency domain, time domain. Okay, what else we have? We have so many other domains are exist here. Okay, but these are the very popular domains here. So S domain is very good because it's a Laplacian domain, so that you can easily convert any equation, any transfer function easily to the S domain and then to the frequency domain. So it becomes easy for us to move between these two domains. That's why we mainly look into the S domain. Okay, S domain, in my opinion, its domains are nothing but a person wearing different dresses. Person is same, but dress keep changing. Likewise, the signal or equation is same, but it's keep changing. I mean arrangement, the equation keep changing in different domains. So the same Laplace domain or S domain, what we are trying to say, when we can easily move to the frequency domain by substituting S is equal to j omega. Look at here how easy it is. That means the same signal what we have seen in S domain, now we are seeing in the frequency domain. And we all know that how to convert frequency domain to time domain, right? Any transform which is very popular to convert frequency to time domain? Anybody can recall that? How do we convert time to frequency, frequency to time?
Fourier transform.
Yes, exactly. Fourier transform. So Fourier transform is very popular in electronics, right? The students who are not aware of Fourier transform, they are going to be blind in my opinion. The student should know what happens when you do the physical transforms. So when you have a signal or any equation, in our case it's a transfer function. But when you deal with communication system, we say it is a signal. When you deal with signal processing, digital signal processing or analog signal processing, okay, video processing, whatever it may be, it's a time domain. Basically signal will be in time domain, and whenever you want to convert that into the frequency domain, okay, you need to apply what is called as a Fourier transform. Fourier transform. And vice versa, you can't stay back in Fourier because I already told you signal is like the person wearing different dresses. You have transformed signal from time domain to the frequency domain. That means some properties which are not visible in the time domain, you are looking in the frequency domain. After visualization, after making a study in the frequency domain, it's our duty to come back, or you can stay even in that domain also, because many times it becomes difficult to interpret signals only in frequency domain. So the time domain is going to be the basic domain which we are usually we work with. Okay, so we need to convert frequency domain to time domain. Generally when you apply a Fourier transform to any signal, the output will be the frequency coefficients. So having coefficients, some numbers in terms of fractions, it is very difficult to interpret. But when you represent the frequency domain, you will understand, you can interpret few properties. But once you do that analysis, it's we can come back to the time domain anytime by applying inverse Fourier transform. Okay, so that's very important here. And the Fourier transform has got one Fourier's transform has got one drawback. Anybody can say that what is the drawback of Fourier transform, if you are already aware of signals and systems? Just think about it. These are the fundamental questions usually they ask you when you appear for campus interviews or gate. Drawback of Fourier transform, and drawback of each transform you must be aware. Okay, we in order to interpret signals, this Fourier transform is good, but Let me give an example here. If you have a music signal with you, can we apply Fourier transform for that? Suppose if you apply Fourier transform to a music signal, I'm taking practical examples, not examples which you see in the textbook. Okay, signal is often represented in different way. I'm taking here the music signal. What happens when you apply a Fourier transform to a music signal? Anyway, think over about that, because the drawback of Fourier transform is the frequency localization. Okay, I hope you understand what do you mean by frequency localization. The Fourier transform cannot make distinction between different frequencies. Okay, it gets, it only resides in only one particular frequency. It assumes that there is only one frequency in a signal. That is the problem of Fourier transform. How do you overcome that? I hope you understand the problem, the drawback of Fourier transform, whatever I explained here. When you apply Fourier transform, okay, what happens is it localizes only it assumes that there is only one particular frequency. Frequency means that it is nothing but it tells you the how fast the signals are changing, right? That's what it is told by the frequency. If you see the time gap between these cycles, if it is very less, frequency is high. But this Fourier transform assumes that there is only one frequency in this signal. Suppose if you have a signal something like this, something where is frequency is less and frequency is very small variation like this, then this Fourier series of Fourier transform assumes that there is all these frequencies are same. But look at here, there is a close and is a signal is spread wider, frequencies are varying, right? So in such cases Fourier transform cannot be applied. Okay, anyway, this is a just out of the syllabus I am saying. But in order to overcome this drawback, there is something called wavelet transform. So when you go for advanced higher semester, you will study the difference between drawback of Fourier transform and how it can be overcome in wavelet transform, and you will see the power of wavelet transform. It's very good. Students, if you are doing any projects in signal processing and communication, you can prefer the wavelet transform compared to the Fourier transform. That's going to be very good. But I suggest that don't leave this Fourier transform, because Fourier transform explains you the fundamentals, how to take a signal from the time domain and how to convert into the frequency domain and analyze in the frequency domain. A lot of study you can make it in the frequency domain. Okay, but in a signal you may not be in a position to interpret, but when it comes to the image or video, you can do a lot of interpretation. Anyway, so that's what the importance of Fourier series and Fourier transform. Okay, so now we will move on to the how to represent the input impedance in terms of S domain. All this extra things what I said is because of S domains. I was talking about different domains. So S domain, frequency domain, time domain, the Z domain. So these different domains you will come across in digital signal processing. Okay, we can represent input impedance in general form, which you can see here. There is no change in the derivation, but only thing is we are just manipulating this representing instead of R as Z, and IF which remains same, and S we have introduced here. Okay, and you can see that even Zi input impedance without feedback we shown as Zi, and 1 plus AFS into beta of S. AFS is nothing but it is a gain of an amplifier in the S domain, gain of the feedback network in S domain, and ZIF is nothing but input impedance of an amplifier in S domain without feedback, and this is with feedback, input impedance with feedback, also represented in S domain. I told you significance of using S domain because it's very easy to convert or transform any signal or any equation from S domain to frequency domain. Just by substituting S is equal to j omega, you can convert this signal into the frequency. So that's why we use S domain as a platform, a mediatory to transform into frequency domain. Okay, having derived the input impedance of an amplifier, voltage series amplifier, now let us show how to derive an output impedance of an amplifier. Here we are deriving equation that relates ROF and RO. Now try to understand what is ROF and what is RO. RO is nothing but output impedance, output resistance in this case of an amplifier without feedback, output resistance of an amplifier with feedback. We are just comparing what is the relationship between output resistance of an amplifier with feedback to that of output resistance of an amplifier without feedback. In a previous case, we have shown the relationship between RIF and RI. Here we are trying to show the relationship between ROF and R0. Okay. Now look at the circuit here. You may ask your question where this circuit has come from. Okay, anybody can guess where we have how we got this circuit? It's not the circuit I've written all of a sudden. Okay, if you look at the voltage series amplifier, we have extracted the output part of the circuit. I will go back to the ideal structure of voltage series feedback amplifier. Look at this circuit. And by looking at this circuit, can you imagine which part of the circuit I have taken to derive the output resistance with feedback? While deriving input resistance, I have taken this part. If you can remember, I have extracted this part. Okay. But now look at here, while deriving expression for the R0, here we have an R0 in terms of ROF. So this is simplified circuit, which you can see in terms of ROF. We are extracting this output part of the circuit. This is where this circuit I have extracted here. Okay. So this part of circuit we have rewritten with all these components, whatever you see. And along with that, you will see additional things. I will explain that when I go to that circuit. Now we got an idea. So you can see here there is a voltage source. This is the amplifier output voltage source. Amplifier output voltage. We have modeled that as a voltage source here. The symbol here, what it shows, what kind of voltage source it is. It's a dependent voltage source, right? If I show with circle like this, independent voltage source. Same circle if I show with sinusoidal. It's nothing but independent AC voltage source. Okay, same we can also show with for the current source also. Same symbol. If I show like this, it is a dependent current source. In this case, you can see it's a dependent voltage source. In the sense, this voltage here depends on input voltage Vi. Along with that, there is a scaling factor which is amplifier gain A. A times Vi, that is the amount of voltage produced here. Okay. And if Vi is varied, then definitely this A is a constant for a given amplifier. So therefore, A into Vi also varies. So this is a voltage source taken from the output part of the feedback amplifier, and R0 is also same, which we have taken again from the circuit. R0 is nothing but it is a resistance of an amplifier. Every amplifier will have a output resistance, and therefore it can be modeled using a resistor. Okay, so and there is a voltage source here. Okay, these two things we have taken from the basic ideal structure of a feedback amplifier. And what about this VT? You haven't seen this VT in the circuit, right? How this has come all of a sudden? Here, while deriving relationship between R0 and ROF, you know how do we measure the output resistance, right? In order to measure output resistance, the following assumptions are made. What are those assumptions? You can see here what assumptions we are going to make. To find the output resistance RIF of the feedback amplifier, okay, in the figure A, that is original circuit what we have shown, we reduce Vs to 0. This is very important here. This is an assumption. Vs is reduced to 0. Whenever we measure ROF, or output resistance of a feedback amplifier, Vs must be made as 0. What is Vs? It is a source signal. Source signal should not influence our output resistance that we are measuring. Therefore, we are going to make it as 0. Output resistance is nothing but if you see an amplifier, the resistance which is measured at the output, right? When you look at from here, these two lines are nothing but they are the output ports of an amplifier. If this is going to be an amplifier, okay. So here we measure ROF if this is going to be a feedback amplifier. Now across this, when we are measuring output resistance, the influence of input signal must not be there. So therefore, this Vs we are going to short circuit. So Vs is going to be 0. That's the first assumption we are going to do here. Then once you make Vs as 0, you may ask a question here, how do we measure the output resistance? Because output resistance is what? It is nothing but voltage by current, right? Numerator we have a voltage, and in the definition of output resistance, and denominator we have a current as the value. We need to have a voltage value and current value in order to measure the resistance. But here in this case, you see here, since we are making input signal as 0 and we are measuring resistance, output resistance here, we need to connect here a test voltage here called as Vt. So Vt is nothing but it is a test voltage. The voltage source we are connecting in order to measure the output resistance. Therefore, it is called as a test voltage. This voltage doesn't exist in the circuit, but we are connecting here physically across these 2 points, O and O dash, which are nothing but output ports of a circuit or amplifier. And here we are connecting the test voltage source, a temporary voltage source Vt. And if I know the magnitude of this, what voltage I am applying here, and what current that results here, now this is the load for us now. Okay, now based on these 2 things, we can measure the output resistance here. So now from the definition, you can see that ROF, output resistance of an amplifier with feedback, is nothing but Vt by I. So Vt is nothing but the voltage applied using a test source, test voltage source, and I is nothing but current resulting from that. This is the experimental setup which is used for measuring the output resistance of a feedback amplifier. Okay, hope it is clear to you. Now with that, a test voltage connected to these 2 elements, we are able to measure the output resistance. Now let us go through the derivation part now. Now we can write the current equation as I as Vt minus A times Vi. This is the current equation I am writing here. How do we write current equation? Current flowing in this branch. So this is nothing but Vt minus this voltage A times Vi divided by the output resistance, which is R0. That is nothing but expression for I. I hope this I expression is clear to you. Okay, I would write the current flowing due to the 2 sources here. One is Vt, other one is A times Vi. Okay, and if you divide that with the resistance value, so that gives you the current expression for the current. Since input signal source is made as 0, now we can write, okay, let me use the basic KVL equation, recollect this equation. Since in our case this Vs was 0, once you make Vs as 0, what is the resulting equation for Vf? It's minus Vi. Okay, so the same thing we are writing here. So you can see here Vi is equal to minus Vf. You have to write that Vs equation as Vf plus Vi. Since Vs is equal to 0, Vf feedback voltage becomes equal to minus Vi, or Vi is equal to minus Vf. And what is Vf for the voltage amplifier? It is beta times V0. So we know that feedback voltage Vf is beta times V0, because Vf samples the feedback network samples the output voltage. Therefore, the output voltage of a feedback network is beta times V0. So here we can substitute Vf as beta times V0 by retaining the negative sign here. And now in our circuit case, in this case, we don't have as such a V0 here. In place of V0, what we have here is Vt. So therefore, I am replacing here V0 with Vt. So now the expression for Vi is minus beta times Vt. This can be substituted in the second term of this I equation. Let us see the resulting equation for I equals Vt minus A is kept outside the bracket, and in place of Vi we can write as minus beta times Vt divided by R naught as it is. Now we can simplify this by taking Vt as a common factor from these two terms, and you get Vt into 1 plus A beta, and R naught is kept as it is. Now look at the definition of ROF, which is here, Vt by I. So already we have Vt on the right hand side here, and I is on the left hand side. So the ratio of this Vt by I is nothing but ROF, and remaining terms you can keep it as it is R naught divided by 1 plus A beta. This can be rewritten as ROF is equal to R naught divided by 1 plus A beta. Look at this now. Finally we got a relationship between ROF and R naught. ROF is equal to R naught divided by 1 plus A beta. What this shows here? Earlier we have proved that RIF equals Ri into 1 plus A beta or beta A. This is with reference to input resistance. Whereas with reference to output resistance with feedback is equal to output resistance without feedback by 1 plus A beta. So that means with feedback output resistance decreases. Or in another way I can say that in voltage series feedback or series shunt feedback topology, the output resistance of an amplifier with feedback decreases by the factor of 1 plus A beta. So conclusion here is, in a voltage amplifier, input impedance or input resistance increases, output resistance decreases. These are the desired parameters, desirable the characteristics for the voltage series amplifier, and ultimately even with feedback also it supports the same thing. Okay, so the same explanation is given here. It is clear from equation 5 that negative feedback reduces the output resistance by the factor of 1 plus A beta, which is equal to the amount of feedback. And the equation 5 again, it doesn't depends on the sampling and the mixing. That is, once again it is reiterated here as we said with reference to input resistance here. Okay, and all this explanation you can go through that, and finally we can write output impedance equation in terms of in S here, in S domain, ZOF of S equals Z0 of S divided by 1 plus AFS into beta of S. This becomes easy for us to transform to the frequency domain. Any questions about so far? I hope we have covered the derivations related to the voltage series feedback amplifier or series shunt feedback topology. Okay, like this we need to prove for other 3 amplifier circuits which we have done here. Okay, I think another thing, I'll just open that material. Yes. Prior to the starting of other derivations, any questions are there? I hope you are with me. If any doubts are there, it's always welcome. Feel free to ask any questions or any doubts. Okay, next type of feedback amplifier that we are discussing is series feedback amplifier. This is also called as voltage mixing current sampling feedback amplifier. And you can see that the feedback topology, we already showed that for a transconductance amplifier, the type of feedback topology suitable is this: voltage mixing at the input, current sampling at the output. It is also called as series feedback topology. And again here for your reference I have written here, for the transconductance amplifier, input is a voltage signal and output is going to be the current signal. Okay, so this type of amplifier stabilizes I naught by Vs. I naught is the output current, Vs is the source voltage. So this is the ideal structure of series feedback amplifier, and the dotted line shows that it is an amplifier circuit. The top dotted line, box shape dotted line we have shown, and below there is again another box here that shows it is a feedback network, and the gain, since it is beta for the feedback network, this lower box can also be called as beta circuit. Upper box can also be called as A circuit or amplifier circuit. Okay, so remaining things as we have seen in voltage amplifier, the connections are made as it is. You can see here. Okay, so there is a sampling here which is happening in series, and that is again provided in series with the input voltage here. Okay, so this is the ideal structure of series feedback amplifier, and since A circuit is nothing but it's a unilateral open loop amplifier, and beta circuit is nothing but an ideal feedback network here, and the gain of this A is nothing but it is I naught by VA. Remember that this is not a voltage amplifier, this is a transconductance amplifier. So basic transconductance amplifier gain is A, which is equivalent to I naught by VA. Output is a current in this case, so therefore it is I naught is taken, and input is a voltage, so therefore VA is taken. So this A is nothing but which is a transconductance, or gain of the transconductance amplifier is represented by this A. Okay, the loop gain here again remains same, A beta. As you can see here we have a loop, right? So this is a loop what you see here. This is one block, this is another block here what you see, and there's a loop exists here because the output and the input are they're connected. Okay, and again the three things which you can see in the ideal structure: the input resistance of an amplifier, A is the voltage gain, R naught is nothing but output resistance. Assumption is again the source and load resistance Ri and R naught has been included inside the A circuit, and beta circuit are nothing but feedback circuit, doesn't load the amplifier circuit. Okay, these are the two assumptions which we do here before we proceed to the analysis of this transconductance amplifier or series feedback amplifier. Okay, so this is the simplified ideal structure or equivalent circuit of series feedback amplifier. As you can see in the original circuit, we have shown here the S and S dash, and we are writing just we are putting a block box between S and S dash to O and O dash, because it becomes easy for us if we represent the other things within this between this S and S dash and O and O dash with a block diagram. So that's what you see here. So we are just shown with a block diagram, and see this, since whatever we are represented with a block diagram here, okay, so between S and S dash and O and O dash is nothing but a feedback amplifier or transconductance amplifier with feedback. So therefore we can write this since I am saying it is a transconductance amplifier, so it has got input resistance which is RIF, and there is a current source. You can see now it is not a voltage source. There are chances of students get confusion here, because in voltage series amplifier or series shunt feedback amplifier we have shown that it has a voltage, but since here it is a transconductance amplifier, so with feedback again, so S and S dash are nothing but they are the input ports of a transconductance amplifier with feedback or series feedback topology that is suitable for transconductance amplifier, and RIF is nothing but which is an input impedance, input resistance or impedance, and here we have a current source here, dependent current source. Okay, so this current amount of current flowing here depends on the source voltage that is applied here, and so we have an output resistance with feedback as RYF here. Okay, rest all things remain same as we have shown in the ideal structure, complete ideal structure circuit. Okay, now we'll move on to the derivation here. The closed loop gain AF is given by, and this is the definition. Okay, for the transconductance amplifier with feedback, AF is equal to I naught by Vs, and that can be shown even A divided by 1 plus A beta. So every time you need not prove the gain of this transconductance amplifier AF as A divided by 1 plus A beta, since already we have shown for voltage series Similar procedure can be incorporated here to prove the transconductance gain, transconductance with feedback gain as A. Now here we can apply KVL at the input side of the figure A. You can see here again this is input side here. Okay, as I've shown the loop here. So you get it here minus Vs when we are moving from S dash through S and from the amplifier and back to the S dash only. In that loop, whatever the elements comes, we can include them in the KVL. So Vs is the voltage source voltage, and along with that we have a Vi here between the two terminals of basic amplifier, and we have a feedback signal which is Vf. Okay, so same thing is shown here. Now we can apply KVL for that. You get minus Vs is equal minus Vs plus Vi plus Vf. After simplification, we get it as Vs is equal to Vi plus Vf. Now it's easy for us to derive the input resistance. Now you can see that we are going through the definition. RIF is equal to Vs divided by Ii. Okay. Input resistance without feedback is nothing but Vi by Ii. Now we'll consider the definition of Vs by Ii. Okay, so you can see here you can substitute for Vs. So Vs is nothing but Vi plus Vf. So Vi plus Vf divided by Ii. But what is Vf? So Vf is nothing but which is beta times I naught. So we can substitute even that beta times I naught. I naught is nothing but A times Vi. Okay, how do we know that? So you can see that the amplifier gain A. Okay, where we have shown that here. Okay, basic amplifier, transconductance amplifier gain A as I naught by Vi, or I naught can be written as A times Vi. So same thing is written here. I naught is equal to A times Vi. Then rest is the simplification. So RIF is equal to this. After simplification, we get Vi plus beta A into Vi by Ii. If we observe first and second term, Vi be taken as common factor. So that is nothing but Vi by Ii becomes an Ri. So finally we can write RIF is equal to Ri divided by Ri into 1 plus beta A. Again here also we can see for the transconductance amplifier, input resistance increases with feedback. Okay, higher input impedance we can expect from this amplifier. Similarly, same procedure can be used to measure even output resistance also. You have to make Vs as 0, and here you need to connect a temporary current source or test current source here. Earlier we have connected a test voltage, but this is going to be a transconductance amplifier, and here the current is going to be the output signal. So therefore you need to connect here a test current source here labeled as IT here, and remaining part of the circuit is retained as it is. And let's see the notations here we have used. IR naught is nothing but the current flowing through the R naught, and this is again another current which is going away from this node O. Okay, now we can apply Kirchhoff current law at this particular point here. You can see that incoming currents are and outgoing currents. IR naught and A times Vi, these are the currents that are leaving this node, this particular node. Okay, this can be written here O. So these two currents are leaving, that we can write it on left hand side, and this current is entering, that we can write it on right hand side. So you can see the equation is here. This can be rearranged, and we can write IR naught as IT minus A times Vi. Okay, so you can see here ROF, this is the definition, and again this equation we have to make Vs as 0. You get minus Vf, and substitute for Vf, which is beta times I naught. In our case it is minus beta times IT, and again you can apply, after applying KVL we already showed that here IR naught is equal to IT minus A times Vi. So same equation can be written here. Okay, so now we can substitute in terms of voltage across R naught is nothing but which is V, which can be written as IR naught into R naught. So IR naught is given by this expression, so you can write it here, and you can substitute for Vi here, and finally we get the equation in terms of V by IT, that is nothing but ROF. And look at here, we got ROF as R naught into 1 plus beta A. This equation also shows that output resistance is increasing with the feedback. So in a transconductance amplifier, both input resistance, output resistance increases with feedback. That is what the conclusion we do from the derivation here. So far in today's class we have shown 4 equations, RIF and ROF for voltage series amplifier, and RIF and ROF for transconductance amplifier. Try to go through this 4 derivations. Okay, so next class we'll cover for remaining 2 amplifiers the same derivations RIF and ROF. If there are any questions, I can answer you. Otherwise, it's a time to wrap up today's class.